Hello again. Today I'm making a very non-traditional maple pepper mill. I started with a nice square blank. I believe it was 3.5 by 3.5 inches. I'm not sure the overall length. So I took off the corners because I didn't really feel like roughing them out with my gouge. It's a lot of air to cut. Anything that's square tends to be it's a little rough on your hands while you're turning, and there's a good chance of having a catch. And I don't like doing that. So I took it out, took the corners off with my draw knife, and then I started to rough the blank in with my spindle gouge right here, or my roughing gouge, excuse me. I got some nice shavings with it once it started to get trued up. I've really been enjoying using my pin arbor that I made, although I haven't really had to use pins. It tends to be a nice snug fit, just snug enough that if I tap it with a rawhide mallet, I can get the blank in and out. It can be a little bit upsetting when the blank gets stuck. Nice long one, sometimes the hole tapers a little bit. I'm just using a cheap Fosner bit. So as the wood heats up as it's cutting, it can kind of change the size of the hole that it's actually cutting. But so far the pin arbors work great for me. It's taken out all the chatter that my old expansion arbor used to have. The expansion arbor was made from aluminum, so it wasn't quite as sturdy, and it also couldn't be used with the tailstock because of the bolt on the end that would expand the arbor. So now I'm able to use this, and the only time I have any issues is moments like these when I'm trying to face the very bottom and the tailstock's in the way. But, like as you can see me doing right now, I can use my rawhide mallet, knock the wood out a little bit until I get it to where I can true it up nicely. You actually saw I had a little catch there, but you didn't see it much with the fast forward. I believe the video is at 2x speed. That tends to be where I like it. You can still tell what I'm doing, but the video's not, 20 minutes long. There, knock out a little bit more so I can finish truing up the bottom. I hadn't really planned out my shape. When I had such a large piece of wood with this, I didn't want to waste too much, so I decided that once it was true, I'd use as much as I could. Ended up by going with a bit of an acorn shape with it. Then I did some small grooves that I used some piano wire to burn into and give it a nice contrast near the top. And I finished it with my normal finish that I use on pepper mills. Oop, got a little bit of chatter. So my normal finish, I use some Triple E buffing compound mixed with some mineral oil just to, it's a little bit thick and dry. I've had it so long, so I mixed a bunch of mineral oil in there just to loosen it up. Plus the mineral oil soaks it in a little bit better. It gives it a nice color to the wood. Then after finishing it up, I was able to use the rawhide mallet, gently tapping it to get it off. I have had a few times where the blank was so snug that hitting it with the rubber mallet or a rawhide mallet wasn't quite enough. So that's always a little bit frustrating, but so far the pin arbor has been great. Definitely a lot more stable. So after finishing it, I drilled a couple holes in the top and put the antique style pepper mill grinder on top. I like those. It looks nice. It breaks up it's not just a solid piece of wood, or it's not the traditional pepper mills with the two separate pieces of wood. Those are a little bit more complicated to turn just because of not really the turning process, but the boring it out, the two different sized bores and the different depths. I always find it a little bit more challenging to do so, especially with my limited tools. I don't really have a nice drill press that doesn't have the feed, the depth to do deep holes like that. So even like with one of these pepper mills, I'm using a Fosner bit with a bunch of extensions on the back just to get the depth in, and it's never fun turning on a drill while the drill, especially a large Fosner bit, is in the wood, because you never know if it's going to grab and just start spinning the piece of wood around. So I don't really enjoy doing that. But at least now with this pin arbor, I have the option of doing longer pieces when I am able to bore them out. My old expansion arbor was only about 4 inches long. Where a piece like this is about 6 inches long, and I wouldn't be able to do this on my old one. I guess I could probably get it on there, but it would definitely have a lot of vibration issues. It's not very sturdy, and it would only be holding on to a little bit, and the rest of it would be sticking out the end. And there's no tailstock support. So there you see me putting in the little grooves, and you'll see me putting in the burn marks with the piano wire right here. Gives it a nice effect. Normally I do this. Yeah, see, I just realized my dust collector was still sucking up. I don't like the hut shavings to go in the dust collector. It could be a very explosive combination of dust and heat. So I always try to just cover up the dust. There, you can see my wax. It's nice and broken down with the oil. It helps loosen it up. Where before it's, I don't know, maybe my batch is just very old, but it's very dry and hard to spread around. One of the reasons why I spread it by hand first, because otherwise it just flings the mess everywhere. I always use a paper towel. I've had issues in the past with rags that they either stain the wood or the fibers get ripped out. They get stuffed in the wood, and I don't like that. Where a paper towel, if anything happens, it just rips the paper towel. It's very easy to wipe off after. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you.